We cannot buy enough of these players in Dynasty
Come on.
football this offseason. We got 2 players that we're going to bring to you today. And these are guys that we are trying to buy in all of our Dynasty leagues. We'll tell you why. Do us a massive favor. Drop a like to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And comment down below. Who is a player that you are trying to get your hands on that you just keep sending trade offers for in your Dynasty leagues? All right. 2 takes. I'll go first. How about Michael Pittman Jr.?
Pity City.
I think Pity City is getting a little too much disrespect in the Dynasty community. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's a fantastic time to go and buy him. Let's look at his numbers in 2022. He caught 99 balls. He had 141 targets. That's actually crazy to think about, by the way, because it felt like such a disappointing season. 141 targets. We didn't get over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. And in PPR, he finished as a wide receiver 20. In points per game, he was a wide receiver 25. And check this out, okay? In September, mid-September, September 16th of 2022, Michael Pittman was ranked as the wide receiver 6 in Dynasty football community rankings. So wide receiver 6. Today, the day I'm recording this, he is wide receiver 23 to 25, somewhere around that range, okay? It changes pretty much every other week.
Right.
So I still believe in this player. You guys obviously believed in the player before the season. Let me tell you why I think he's a good buy low. Let's revisit that 2022 production, and let's look at some numbers. Let's look at how Michael Pittman won, maybe why he didn't put up the kind of fantasy numbers that we were expecting. All right, targets. Again, targets are a great indicator for a wide receiver, how much opportunity they're going to get. Opportunity leads to fantasy points. We know that. He was 11th with 141. Targets per game, that holds up really well as well. He was 11th with 8.8. Receptions, he was 8th with 99 receptions. If you look at his snap share of versus wide receivers, today, Junior.
Today, Junior.
His snap share versus wide receivers, and this is all compliments of Player Profiler, he had the #1 snap share of wide receivers in 2022. Guys, he played 97.1% of the snaps for the Colts. Ridiculous.
That's
routes run,
crazy.
He was 3rd with 590. Total routes won. He won 248 routes. That's 1st last year. Okay, now, again, he ran a lot of routes. He won a lot of routes. So why don't we look at win rate? Total route win rate, he was 3rd. He won on 54.3% of his routes. Win rate versus man, he was 9th, okay? This is a player who is getting a lot of targets and is winning on his routes. So what happened, right? Well, the red zone targets, he was 18th. Not good. They didn't make it to the red zone very often. Total touchdowns, he was 37th. He was 37th in total touchdowns among wide receivers with 4. It was rough. It was rough, and I'm going to go into that offense here in 1 second. How about expected fantasy points per game? They expected him to finish 16th. He finished 11th. So at least he did more than what Player Profiler expected him to do. So from a fantasy football perspective, the breakout, everyone who had him listed as a breakout candidate before the year, everything was there. Honestly, like you guys, I'm not saying you weren't wrong, but everything was there for a potential breakout, right? He was on the field for a ridiculously high percentage of the snaps, ran a ton of routes, won on those routes, saw a ton of targets. Red zone didn't really work out. Didn't have the touchdowns that we wanted. So how did Michael Pittman Jr. in 4.5 months go from the wide receiver 6 to the wide receiver 23 to 25? How did that happen? Don't forget, guys, how truly awful this offense was in Indianapolis this year. And the quarterback play. Let's look at this Colts offense in 2022. Offensive points per game. They were 30th. And by the way, they should be 31st. The only reason they're 30th is because they're tied for 30th. So they were tied for the 2nd worst offense points per game in the NFL. It was rough. I'm sure any Colts fan out there can agree. I remember we all had to go through watching the Broncos versus the Colts on Thursday Night Football. You and I were live for that, Badake. And you looked at this team and thought, oh, this is going to be rough. Yes, and it was. Pass yards per game, 23rd. Pass touchdowns per game, 24th. First downs per game, 23rd. Constantly giving the ball back to the other team. How about Matt Ryan? What was his QBR? 25th. Again, guys, 32 teams. These numbers are awful. How about rushing yards per game? They were 23rd this year. This is a team with what some would argue to be one of the best running backs in the entire NFL, and they were 23rd in rushing this year. Last year, they were second in rushing, okay? So what happened there? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor missed 6 games due to injury, and a lot of other games that he played, he was already injured in. Then you look at the coaching staff here in Indianapolis. Frank Reich, good head coach, probably wore out his stay a little bit. It wasn't working. I don't think the belief was in the locker room anymore. Then you bring in a high school coach. Now, put respect on Jeff Saturday, the player's name. I want to put respect on the player's name. But I remember you and I, when they made this decision to go to Jeff Saturday, we were like, this cannot go. This cannot go well. It can't. Mm-hmm. And I remember he won his first game, and everyone was like, put some respect on the guy. See, you guys were wrong. And then after that, it was just complete disaster. I'm like, they beat one of the worst teams in the NFL at that time. It was bad. It was rough. And Jeff Saturday is clearly not a head coach. Despite what the media is telling you right now, I truly don't think Jeff Saturday is a legit option at head coach for them this offseason. Okay, I just don't think that is possible. So everything was there, but the offense was awful. Quarterback play was awful. Let's talk about that quarterback play. Okay, let's look at all the quarterbacks he had to work with this year. Matt Ryan, 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions in 12 games played. Sam Ehlinger, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 4 games played. How about Nick Foles? 4 interceptions, no touchdowns in 3 games played. Altogether, they had 17 touchdowns and 20 interceptions from their quarterback room. By far, one of the bottom 3 quarterback rooms in the entire NFL, easily. Okay? But hopefully, and I know Colts fans would agree with me, we're moving into a new year, new us type vibe for these Indianapolis Colts. New year, new me. Yeah, exactly. They currently hold the 4th overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. We consume draft content like every day. And all I'm seeing right now is Bryce Young or CJ Stroud to the Colts. Right. That's what we're consistently seeing, as well as the Colts being one of the biggest teams talked about to trade up to the number 1 spot to grab the quarterback of their choice. Regardless, what we do know and what you and I can agree upon is the quarterback, there will be a new quarterback in town. It will change. There will be a new scenery, fresh, probably young player to grow with. And that's what we want for a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., a great talent who just does not have good quarterback play around him. Okay? And lastly, it's a contract year for Michael Pittman Jr., guys. It's a contract year. You go look at Michael Pittman's contract, my guy is being disrespected heavily right now. I mean, barely making $1 million base salary per year. That is disrespectful type contract. He absolutely is going to want to ball out this year and earn a contract next offseason if they don't extend him already this offseason, right? I personally find it really difficult to see the Colts letting him walk. I mean, we see it all the time. Players on their contract year go absolutely insane. This last year, Josh Jacobs, contract year, balled out, said, I don't care if you didn't give me a contract. I'm about to earn my money. That's what players want to do. It's that extra motivation. For whatever reason, there's this extra step in their game, this extra oomph to every practice, every game that they approach. And Michael Pittman Jr. is not going to be any different. We are likely to see this offseason or next offseason, between the two, we're likely to see 10 or more long-term extensions at the wide receiver position for impact wide receivers. That list includes guys who are free agents in 2024, like Michael Pittman, who I think most of these guys will get signed to a long-term deal. CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool. There's others among that list. I think out of that list, only Claypool and Evans, I'm not sure of if they get a long-term deal. So Pittman is likely to get a long-term deal. And if it's not with Indianapolis, what did we see from A.J. Brown last year? He got traded to a better destination, ended up working out for him. So you bet on the talent, you bet on the player. It cannot get worse than this offense. It can't. So whether it's a new quarterback, a new head coach this year, the graphs are moving up. Okay, whether it's a new team,
Right.
an entire new location, the graphs are moving up. It is really difficult to see a scenario in which Michael Pittman Jr. is not better next year for me. He won on his routes. He ran a ton of routes. He was an absolute cornerstone to this team. Number one in snap share amongst wide receivers in the NFL. Terrible team. Terrible quarterback play. You know, the team wasn't fully healthy on both sides of the ball. Their best player in Jonathan Taylor was not able to play for them. Everything fell apart. And I think this is a perfect time to go buy Michael Pittman Jr., who is going to have a long-term extension here soon that you can be confident in. So let's look at some similar values according to the community that you could trade away to get Pittman. Keep in mind, as we always say, there's no perfect trade, okay? There's no perfect
Right.
1-for-1. This is exactly what's going to happen. You might have to add picks in some of these deals. In some of these deals, you can get picks in return. These are conversation starter names. Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, which maybe right now after Brady, I brought him as a sell high about a month ago now, I would say.
Yeah, around there.
Around a month ago
Yeah.
now, and maybe it's going to be a buy low on him soon, but he's someone you could explore. Ramondre Stevenson. You could get Michael Pittman and picks for Ramondre Stevenson. Same thing with Najee Harris. Same thing with Nick Chubb. You could explore a trade around Damian Pierce, Christian Kirk, Joe Mixon, Durka, Derrick Henry. And lastly, at the moment, it looks like it's going to cost a late first in 2023. Let me ask you, Badake, because I feel pretty strongly about this.
Right.
I don't see a scenario in which JSN, Quentin, or Addison are available late first. And when we say late, I'm saying 110 to 112. I think that the tier break is around the 1.9. So for a late first, I think I would prefer Michael Pittman over any of the wide receiver options that could be from 110 to 112 from what we've seen right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree.
So go out, buy Michael Pittman. Most people believed him last year. It was literally the worst case scenario possible.
Freaking
So,
catfish, brother. Catfish.
And I know you've talked about Alec Pierce before. I've talked about Alec Pierce before.
Mhm.
He also, you could put him in this category as well. He's a good buy as well. So
Yeah.
I love Michael Pittman. I mean, the organization views him as a target monster that they can build around based off what we saw this year. Let's just hope the offense is better. I don't know how it gets worse. I don't think it can.
Yeah, I don't think he can, especially with top number 4 pick, number 5 pick. So they're gonna have to jump and get somebody as a quarterback, because that quarterback carousel is tiring now for these Colts.
Yeah, it's time to end the carousel and and commit. Yeah.
Agreed.
No more speed dating.
No more speed dating. Catfish. All right, guys. My player that I can't buy enough right now in Dynasty, and a guy that I still believe in, Rashad Bateman. He's a guy that we all know.
I love it.
We've all seen him a little bit, right? So 2022, missed 11 games, right? So he wasn't really on the field. 15 receptions, 28 targets, 285 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A guy that's been struggling with injury for the past his 2 years in the NFL. But the community still sees him the community sees him low, right? He's wide receiver 34 as of today. But coming into the season, he was a guy that we say, hey, another year with Lamar, another year to break out, or a year to break out. He was a top 20 wide. He was wide receiver 18 at the beginning of the season, of the 2022 season. So everything that happens kind of just hurt him, right? So I'll give you the reasons why I still believe in him and why you guys should be going out there and buying him, because I think the price right now is really good, which we'll get to. So number one, the contract and draft capital. I mean, we've seen it. He was a 27th pick in the first round in the 2022 NFL draft. It was clear that the Ravens needed another weapon at the time, right? That was the problem in 2019. Not enough weapons. They needed to open up this passing game, and that's exactly what we were saying in 2019, what we said in 2020, and what we're still saying now going into the 2023 season. So Bateman is still on his rookie contract and still has 2 years left, 2023 and 2024 to finish out. So he still has time to develop and be around, with Lamar and everyone. So if people out there that are panicking over Rashad Bateman, relax. He's still young. He still hasn't even played that many games. And I think the biggest thing with Rashad Bateman are the injuries, right? Let's go back to 2021, which was his rookie year. He missed all of preseason. He missed all the preseason and the first 5 games which is crucial, right? And he had a groin injury, and that's crucial for a rookie wide receiver trying to build his chemistry with his quarterback in Lamar Jackson, right? So in 2022, now he comes in with a foot injury. He plays about 4 games, and he misses the rest of the season. Gets put on IR. He has missed a combined of total 15 games in the past 2 years, right? He hasn't played a full season yet. And we all seen the talent. We all know how talented Rashad Bateman is. He can play the outside wide receiver. He can play the side. He's a versatile guy that can do whatever you need him to do. He just needs to stay healthy. And I think that is the biggest problem right now. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people are kind of iffy on Rashad Bateman, is because of, I guess you can say, the injury history now, because we haven't seen him on the field. But when he is on the field, he's explosive. He has the speed. He has the separation and more. Third thing, the offense is going to change. Greg Roman's gone, right? If you know Greg Roman, he loves to run the ball. The Ravens were a top running offense for the past couple of years. All they did was run the ball. And then obviously Lamar was your running back, and J.K. Dobbins was your running back, right? So they kind of love to piece these guys together, piece these guys around and run the ball. But now, once again, like I said a little bit earlier, they need to start getting this passing game going. And we saw that at the end of that 2019 season when Hollywood Brown was like, okay, we need more weapons. So they did. And they even said, okay, we need to open up this playbook. They opened up the playbook a little bit more, and they still weren't where they were at, where they needed to be as a passing team in 2020. 2021, kind of the same thing. And now, once again, like I said, now you're coming into 2023, it's like, dang, you're still running the ball. Who are your weapons? They were running with Devin Duvernay. You know, they picked up Sammy Watkins off a waiver wire. Like, they had nobody, right? That you trade away Hollywood Brown. Rashad Bateman is there with now still Mark Andrews. So you need weapons, whether it's Rashad Bateman, you need him to stay healthy, or get a wide receiver in the draft, whether that's JSN, Jordan Addison. And I don't think that's going to hurt him. I think that if anything, that helps. You know, that's going to help Bateman, give him some more opportunity. Can he be this elite wide receiver one? Potentially. I think he'll be a low-end wide receiver one, but I think he could be a good wide receiver two, kind of like a complement, like a Devonta Smith, right? Something along those lines in production with an elite wide receiver guy on the other side. Another thing is that this division is tough. It's always been tough, right? The Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals. Now you have Deshaun Watson there, Joe Burrow, who just missed off going to the Super Bowl twice in 2 years. That team, that's a powerhouse team. Deshaun Watson, another year with the Browns, with Amari Cooper, all these people. I mean, they're going to go for championships. Steelers I think, are a little bit behind the pack right now, but the Ravens have Lamar Jackson, and that comes to my last point. Lamar Jackson is the X factor. He is the guy. He is everything that brings this whole thing together, right? So it's crazy right now to think that the Ravens, I mean, the reports are out saying that the Ravens could tag him. I think that's crazy, one. I think they need to give him the man his money. And I also think that they need to protect him. You can't let Lamar walk, right? And I think that's what's been hurting Lamar Jackson, is that he's putting his body on the line for this team without getting paid. And we saw the outcome this year, and we saw the outcome the year before. They've missed the playoffs twice because Lamar was injured. What happens if Lamar's not injured and we go into the playoffs? He has the back. He's secured for this Ravens team and for all the other weapons around him. That's why they secured Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman is still there trying to develop if the injuries don't hurt him. And mind you, Rashad Bateman can help. He is going to help once he's on the field. Remember, Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman only played a total of 13 games. In 2021, when Rashad Bateman played the second half of the season, the rookie season, Lamar Jackson was injured. And then this year, he's only played the first 4 or 5 games with him. So he still doesn't have that chemistry. He's still trying to build the chemistry. So if you're out there and you have Rashad Bateman, or you're trying to get Rashad Bateman, these are the things that you need to look at, because this is a guy that they drafted with first-round draft capital, right, that has been struggling with injuries, that are going to have a new offensive coordinator come in and say, okay, we got a guy that's a first-round wide receiver. Okay, we have Lamar Jackson, one of the best throwers and rushers in the NFL. We have a solid team. We have a great head coach. The offensive coordinator that's going to be coming in is going to say, we need to limit Lamar's rushing upside, even though that's what he can do. But we need to get to the playoffs. We need to protect Lamar. We need to give the ball to Rashad Bateman and all these other weapons. And I think that's what's going to happen. And if both of those guys can stay healthy, Lamar and Rashad, I mean, sky's the limit. Anything can go there. So right now, wide receiver 34, according to the community, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go back. Wide receiver 34 according to the community. I think he could be a top 20 wide receiver in next year, right? If he can stay healthy, play a full 17 games with Lamar, he could be a top 20 wide receiver. And then you say, okay, I got him on a discount. And then the next year, in 2024, his contract year, he's playing for everything and he's playing for more, right? There's more risk on the line. So I think this is a perfect opportunity right now if you are trying to get Rashad Bateman. And I'll give you some prices and some people that I'm willing to trade away for Rashad based on price. Once again, like Zach always says, not every trade's perfect. Not everything is going to go your way. Start a conversation, right? So these are some guys, according to the community, that you can get for Rashad, or give away to acquire Rashad Bateman. Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. All these guys are older guys on their last years, right? It might be a little bit harder now with Mike and Tom Brady. DeAndre Hopkins is a little bit questionable. And then you can kind of potentially, give some of these guys plus like a third round pick or a late second, right? Gabriel Davis, Jamal Williams, Zeke, James Conner, Gibson, Khalil Herbert. I mean, I know nobody really wants Zeke right now, but I mean, these are some players that you can say, okay, if they're worried about Rashad Bateman, I'll throw you a late second, whatever the case may be. And right now, he's considered to be valued in the rookie draft as a mid-second right now. And I like the talent right now in the mid-second in the rookie draft is good. But I think with the opportunities that Rashad Bateman has, I maybe feel a little bit more comfortable until we know the landing spots for some of these guys, right? Yeah. Until we know. But look, once again, Rashad Bateman, I think he's still there. He has the opportunity. Him and Lamar needs to stay healthy and then gain that chemistry. Another year, just in OTAs, just in practice, in preseason, that's going to be huge for someone like Rashad Bateman. So get Rashad Bateman. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Rashad Bateman. I think it's unfortunate because you could see a real breakout from him those first 2 weeks specifically. I believe he only had he was getting 6 targets a game in those first 2 weeks, and he was doing the most with those few opportunities that he had.
It's tough.
I think he was averaging around 17 points per game in week 1 and 2. And then, injuries occurred both with himself and others, and unfortunately just couldn't stay healthy. I think for me, it's not a question of health, of talent. It's a question of health.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
Let's bet on him just being okay.
You gotta
we like the player.
But it was a groin injury, which is really annoying. And then
Curtis Samuel had a groin injury all last year in 2021 and came back and was healthy in 2022.
But that was so in 2021 he had the groin injury, and then in 2022 this past year he had a foot injury. And it was
it Liz Frank?
It wasn't Liz Frank. It was something along those lines. I forgot the name of it. Okay. But it was a pretty significant foot injury to where obviously he missed the whole season, right? Yeah. So,
well, we like Bateman here. We're pro Bateman. I think it's unfortunate because we didn't really get to see what he could have been. But I think I don't see a scenario personally in which the Ravens actually let Lamar walk. And
I'll be really surprised. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's why people are scared. People are scared of the Mark Andrews. They're scared of Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Of anyone on this team because Lamar could potentially
Josh Jacobs
walk.
On the team, but yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, you know what I mean? Because Lamar could potentially walk, right? So it will be wild if they let him walk. I mean, how do you not pay the guy?
Things have happened.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened for sure. I like it. Go buy Rashad Bateman. Go buy Michael Pittman Jr. Why don't you guys comment down below? Let us know if you like these takes. If you disagree, that's okay. You can let us know as well. Like the video to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content, and we'll see you in the next video very soon.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.